Hey guys, this is Darren Wong from carbuyer.com.sg. Once again, behind us is the new Toyota Corolla Altis, the 12th generation of the perennial bestseller. We're going to be finding out what's new about it, which variant you should buy in Singapore, and what really makes the Corolla Altis a Corolla. Alright, Toyota Corolla almost needs no introduction. More than 40 million units sold everywhere in the world for more than 6 decades. When the idea of a car comes to mind, you're probably going to think of the Toyota Corolla Altis. So this is the 12th generation model. As we mentioned, it runs on TNGA, that's Toyota New Generation Architecture. And one of the things to look out for with TNGA cars like the Prius, as well as the new Camry, is that everything is a lot lower than before. So this car is the same length pretty much as it used to be. It's about 4.6 meters long. And the wheelbase is the same at 2.7 meters. But you see that, well, you can't see it, but it's actually 35 mm shorter than before. So that is quite significant given that the other size and dimension measurements haven't changed that much. But, you know, this is one thing to look out for. So you look at the lights, you notice they really are quite low. I don't know if it shows up on the camera, but it's very much like the Prius with the low stung lights. And Toyotas with TNGA is going for a kind of bringing the center of gravity of the cars further down to the ground, which makes them nicer to drive and better handling as well, kind of like an EV. And to speak of EVs, the new Corolla does take a few lessons in styling from EVs. So there's no more grille. This part with the badge and the lines, there's no grille there, not like the old car from 2 generations ago. We'll pull up a comparison to let you see the difference between all these cars. And of course, there's a very, very big air intake, which is a lot like the one on the Camry. So big gaping air intake, you know. And you see that on Lexus cars as well, with the big, what they call spindle grille. Not quite a spindle grille here, but it does look a lot more modern and a lot more contemporary. And of course, there is also a hybrid version of the car, so electrified version of the Corolla Altis for the first time in Singapore. Quite impressive. We will drive that towards the end of this video as well. Right, this is the rear seat of the Corolla Altis. Headroom is not bad, but a little bit tight. The car is lower than before, as we mentioned. The wheelbase is the same, 2.7 meters, which is the same as the Civic. So the base is not bad, but honestly the Civic does feel a little bit bigger. The competitor, the Mazda 3, has a longer wheelbase, 2.725 millimeters, but it feels a little bit cramped inside because of the hatchback has a very closed feeling to it. So the Corolla sits somewhere in between these two cars in terms of rear space. So for a family mobile, it's really not too bad. Okay, this is the cabin of the new Corolla Altis. Everything is different, obviously. This is a new car, so the layout is totally different from before. The most noticeable thing is that now the infotainment screen is very high, and it's kind of in line with your instruments. So for a driver, that is very useful. Look here, look there. You don't look downwards anymore, so that gives you a bit more easier time of it when you're looking at the road. Okay, so this is a 6.4 inch touch screen. Just agree with it. Yeah, it looks like that. Not super, but a lot better than before, and we've fiddled around with it. It's quite easy to get to grips with. You have Bluetooth connectivity, you have a radio, you can plug in your USB. But one thing that is quite interesting I want to show you guys is T-Link. So T-Link is a new smartphone mirroring app, and I think it's from the JVC Kenwood company, and they make obviously this thing for Toyota. Alright, this is the T-Link screen mirroring that we're trying out. So to do this, you know, obviously we're looking at what we're looking at on the phone, but to do this you have to be in park and your handbrake has to be on. Turn the handbrake off and it tells you no, just listen to the music, which I guess I could kind of get behind, although I don't know how you're going to navigate like that. You can play music as well, so that is quite useful. Yeah. Let me see if I can skip track. Okay, playing the music, skipping the track. Oh no, I can't skip track. Okay, so nah, I can't skip track. Okay, so the usefulness is limited. Alright, so besides the new layout, there is also quite a big jump in interior quality. So let's just press some of these buttons here. Press. You can't hear any click, but there is a click. So there's a very nice tactile feel to it. And just look at this little mirror adjuster. Look at the windows. So why am I going all anal about little things like this? Because you know, the Corolla has always been a car that is very, very smooth, and the user experience across the years has always been one of ease, and you know, you never wonder what something is in a Corolla. It's like very, very easy to get to grips with all this stuff, very cleanly labeled. You never wonder, what the heck is this? What am I supposed to do with this? You just get in and you drive. And that's something that is reflected in the driving experience as well. Now we talk about the driving experience. We've driven the car around a few hundred kilometers in Singapore, and so far it's lived up to the classic Corolla name. Now, classic Corolla name means smoothness, means ease of use, means a car for normal people. So everything is very predictable, very smooth, engagement's very smooth, the CVT gearbox is smooth. Power delivery is totally unthreatening, very linear. When it goes around corners, it does so in a predictable manner that doesn't scare the wheelies out of you at any moment. Now, to driving enthusiasts, the biggest thing that they would complain about in the Corolla is that it's a bit boring. But the counter argument to that, and I believe this as well, is that if you have something that, say, 85% of people can use and love without having to think about, that really is the secret of the success of the car. I mean, you look at the iPhone. iPhone's popular because even old folks can use them. So that's one of the things that really makes it appeal to the mass market. And I think one of the things that really exemplifies the Corolla as a mass market car after all these decades. TNGA actually does make the new Corolla handle better than before. So one of the interesting things is that the rear suspension, which used to be a torsion beam, is now a double wishbone. If you have no idea what the hell that means, that's fine. Basically, it means that on paper it should handle better than before, and it does. So the lower center of gravity, the double wishbone suspension, means that it's really, really smooth. It rides better than the Mazda 3 and a little bit better than the Civic. So in modern terms, that means it's still a bit bumpy because Singapore's roads are utterly shit now. But it's, I think, one of the most well-behaved cars in its class so far. And it used to be that if you drove a Corolla Altis, you would be really comfortable, but you would, if you're looking for thrills, you get really bored. But this one is actually pretty quick. Now we've driven it a little quicker. The engine still sounds like a vacuum cleaner when you rev it high. No surprise there. But the handling is really neat, and you can actually go quite quick around corners. So there is a surprising amount of sportiness in the Corolla, and that didn't used to be the case before. But of course, the main strength of the car is the fact that it is really, really easy to drive in town. Now, the visibility is better than before because of these mirrors here. The mirrors are outboard. That was on the previous car as well, but these windows are new, and that gives it a really nice all-round view. And again, what we said is supporting you, and you don't feel threatened at all. You can see clearly. It's a very, very easy car to drive. That is one of the key draws of a Corolla. Now, really, one of the standout features of the new Corolla Altis is active safety, and Toyota calls that Toyota's safety sense. So it comprises of three things, and that's the lane departure assist, pre-collision system, blind spot monitor, and actually that's four things. There's also adaptive cruise control. So lane departure assist, very, very easy to explain, keeps you in your lane. You turn it on and off with this button, very useful. I'm not digging around the whole freaking cabin looking for the lane departure assist button. That is very useful for when you don't want to use it. Okay, so not available below 50, so take note. Anyway, the next one, pre-collision system, is basically autonomous braking. So if you're coming fast up to another car, it's going to prep the brakes for you. If you don't do anything, it'll brake for you, possibly saving you the hassle and the injury of crashing into someone when you're not looking. Okay, easy to do. Blind spot monitor, very common feature these days, something we always encourage people to get if there is a possibility of getting it. So on and off. Just turn that on for you. Okay. And the last one is adaptive cruise control. So you see there, radar ready. You can use this button to to adjust the distance between the car in front of you, and then you just press set, and then you adjust the speed. So out on the road, these systems are really quite useful. I like adaptive cruise control for when I'm driving in traffic, and you just turn it on and you just follow the guy in front of you without having to think. Of course, you're supposed to pay attention, but you take a little bit of that mental load off if you're just cruising along. Say if you're going from Jurong to friggin' Tampines or something, it's quite a useful feature to have. And of course, pre-collision system, can't live without that nowadays. In Europe, if you don't have this system, you don't get full stars on the NCAP test, and even overseas you get insurance discounts on this if you have it in your car. Singapore hasn't done that yet. I don't know why, but if it's my money, I'll definitely go for active safety every time. Alright guys, this is the hybrid Corolla, and you can see the signature Toyota kind of bluish silvery hybrid color. I think we saw something similar to that on the previous Camry hybrid as well. Now this is obviously the first Corolla that is a hybrid in Singapore, and it has the same powertrain as the Prius, a 1.8 liter Atkinson cycle engine under the bonnet, electric motor. There is a battery pack beneath the rear seats. We'll show you that later. But for now, to identify the hybrid, you just have to look at the badges, the blue badge, and then this is the blue streak on the lights. Now the hybrid badge here on the side, hybrid. So another hybrid logo right there, and another blue badge. So that's pretty much it for identifying the hybrid. The interesting thing about this car is that the boot space is pretty much the same as the normal sedan, because the battery pack is under the seats. Now you can't see it obviously, but there's a little vent here, and that's for cooling the battery pack. So nickel metal hydride battery pack under the seats. Okay, take a look on the inside. Okay, the interior of the hybrid looks pretty much the same as the normal car, despite the blue start button right there. And of course there are additional functions in the driver display. Now you might notice that this dial is different. That's simply because I changed it in the settings of the info display, so you can actually customize the display. Same thing as on the standard model as well. EV indicator, let me see how I can find meter type. There you go, you can switch between analog and digital. So just now was digital. Let's go back to analog. There you go. Very useful. I prefer the digital one myself. Okay, so the differences between the hybrid and the Elegance, other than the powertrain of course, is the fact that there is a HUD. You can't really see it because it's really bright out there, but there's a HUD. The passenger seat is also electric seat. We have a automatic parking brake here, no manual parking brake like the other car. A bit more gloss plastic here as well. We've got our EV and our drive mode. So drive mode is not on the standard car. If I press the drive mode button, you get power or eco. Power, eco. Pretty simple. So yeah, and everything else is pretty much the same. Obviously the driving experience is a little bit different. If anything, the hybrid is a lot smoother than the already smooth 1.6 version. So really quiet as usual, as we expect from a Toyota hybrid. Handover and power, very seamless. Fuel consumption is of course exemplary, and Toyota quotes an official figure of 4.4. So far we've driven about 30-40 kilometers, not that far, but 4.1 liters per 100, pretty impressive. And in our experience, you can always get better or at least equal the official quoted score for fuel consumption. So in this car, you can see that we can go at least 1,000 kilometers almost on one tank of fuel. But obviously the hybrid is a little bit more expensive than the standard car. It's a 17k difference. I think this car is 121 grand with COE. Elegance is 104. So it is quite a big jump in price. But if it was my money, and if I had the money of course, I think I would go for the hybrid. Okay, so we pretty much covered everything we need to cover with the Toyota Corolla Altis. The last thing is only to know which model to get. Now, there are 3 models here in Singapore. There's the standard model, that's 94 grand. There's the Elegance model, which is this car right here, that goes for 104 grand. And there's the hybrid, which is 121 grand. Obviously, the hybrid is going to be the choice of people who want to vote green with their wallets. If you can buy it, it's good. You know, it's a Toyota hybrid, very, very proven, very reliable. You don't really have to think about or worry about the issues with that one. But for most people, it's going to be the Elegance that takes the signature on the checkbook, because you know, I think the 7 grand is worth it when it comes to the equipment differences and the fact that you have active safety as well. Okay, that about wraps it up. We've got the full reviews on carbuyer.com.sg. We've got the Elegance, got the hybrid. We've got all the nitty-gritty up there. And if you like this video, you found it useful, please like it, please subscribe and share. Thank you guys. See ya.